Hello everyone, my name is Abigail Clark and today I'll be presenting on success tips for beginning educational audiologists. This is my table of content. I'll first talk about who my audience is, I'll do a brief introduction, and then I have 4 success tips. I'll have a conclusion, a quick thank you, and then my references. So my audience are future educational audiologists, so if that's you, this presentation is for you. So to introduce, I have taken an educational psychology class this semester, and this class has allowed me to have 2 field experience opportunities. And so the first field experience opportunity I had was observing an educational audiologist in a public school system. In this setting, she saw diverse students from multiple cultural, racial, ethnic backgrounds. She also saw multiple ages, from preschool all the way up to high school, and this school was located in a lower socioeconomic area. For my second field experience, I observed a first grade teacher at a private parochial school. Less diversity was seen in this setting, and it was in a higher socioeconomic area, so I saw a good bit of diversity and differences between these two. And so from this experience, as well as the knowledge I've learned in this educational psychology class, I have developed 4 tips that I think would benefit those who are pursuing the field of educational audiology. My tips are going to be focusing on classroom communication, as well as learning and motivation. My first tip is to decorate your classroom as an educational audiologist, and I would say to decorate it with lots of fun colors and posters and toys and lots of stuff. I know that having a lot of decorations can distract and decrease focusing abilities in a classroom, so I wouldn't recommend this for teachers, but for educational audiologists, I think this is a super fun way to engage the students. I saw this with my field experience. The educational audiologist I observed had posters covered all over her walls of different cultures of her students and different topics that they liked. Her sound booth was painted bright yellow, and there's pictures and decorations on the inside and the outside of the sound booth. Her classroom to me looked like if Party City exploded. That's what her classroom would look like. She got so many compliments from other professionals and teachers and parents and students, even while I was there, just saying how much the students enjoy coming in here. It's exciting to them. She doesn't make it feel like another classroom or even a doctor's office, which a lot of time audiologists can make it feel that way, since we use some tools such as like otoscopes that seem more like it would be in a doctor's office. And so this is one way I would really encourage those who are entering this field to engage with their students. I also think it's a way to be culturally responsive. You can have posters and decorations from their culture. I even think having people who have a hearing loss in as part of your decorations would be very encouraging to those students and inspire them that they are not alone. For example, some people I thought of was Millie Bobby Brown or Daisy Kent. And I also think this plays a role in classroom communication, because it really can communicate what your space is, and the place that you're in is a place of caring, making them feel safe, recognized value, etc. And a theory I wanted us to consider is the theory of planned behavior. And this just means, or this theory talks about the experience people have with those who have disabilities, as well as their parents' attitudes towards those who have disabilities, plays a role in if that child will have a positive reaction to having a disability or to those around them that have disabilities. So I think if you can use your classroom as a way to give that child positive reactions to having a hearing loss, that would be very great for those students. My second tip as a future educational audiologist is to advocate for your students. This was something that I observed during my field experience. A child had come in with a teacher, and the teacher started complaining that the child is not paying attention, is getting distracted easily, and started talking about behavioral problems this child was having. But after the hearing test, it did show that she had a hearing loss and was even a candidate for hearing aids. and this was just something that was unidentified. And so the audiologist had to really advocate for this student and educate the teacher and say, this child may seem like she's not paying attention, but it's just because she cannot hear. It's not a behavioral problem. And so this plays a role in classroom communication, as we will be advocating and defending our students, as well as educating teachers about their students who have a hearing loss. And so students who have a hearing loss or even auditory processing disorder can experience academic failure, fatigue, and anger, and teachers do not always attribute this to a hearing loss, and so that's why it's important that we educate and advocate. But something I wanted us to consider is behaviorism. I will talk about this in just a little bit, actually, in a more positive light, but I wanted to bring up a negative side to behaviorism, and that is if teachers are just looking at behaviors, they might miss a hearing loss. A lot of students who have a hearing loss might be failing in class or getting restless or struggling to keep up with their peers, might act out or look disengaged. And if teachers are just looking at these behaviors, they will miss the hearing loss that could be there. My third success tip is using operant conditioning as an educational audiologist. Using this tool can actually be your best friend. Operant conditioning was created by B.F. Skinner. It is on the behavioral perspective side. I know it's just talking negative about it, but there are positives to it as well. And so this belief just means that using reinforcements can increase or decrease behaviors, and it can also increase motivation. So I'm going to provide an example of how an educational audiologist could use operant conditioning, and that is through visual reinforcement audiometry. With visual reinforcement audiometry, or otherwise known as VRA, if a student turns his or her head to a sound, a visual reinforcer will occur, and so this is your way to reward that behavior. And so the visual reinforcer could be a light up toy, or in this picture it looks like it's a little puppet that the girl, when she turned her head, that light lit up for her to see as a reward. And so this type of tool, the VRA, has been proven to be useful with young children and children who have disabilities, to help motivate them to participate in audiological testing. This was something I did observe, and I saw younger children who were in preschool use it, and then I saw children who were a little bit older but had cerebral palsy or other disabilities, and it did really help motivate them to do these tasks. My last and fourth tip for future educational audiologists is to have high expectations. This can increase motivation for your students. I saw this in both my observations of the audiologist as well as the first grade teacher. And with the audiologist, she would always say, before doing a task, like, oh, I know you are so smart, you can do this, and really built them up and encouraged them and already had that expectation that they were smart, that they were capable. And then the teacher, I observed, when she was introducing me to the class, she kind of told them something along the lines of, like, I told Miss Clark that you guys are all so well behaved and motivated to learn, and so she wanted to come and see for herself. So she kind of put the expectation high, like this was a great class, very well motivated, very well behaved, and she set that expectation high for them. So a theory I wanted us to consider with this point is the Pygmalion effect. And this theory states that having positive expectations can influence performance positively, and on the flip side, negative expectations can influence performance negatively. So in other words, this Pygmalion effect is saying basically self-fulfilling prophecies do come true. So whatever you expect of a child is the performance or behavior that they will match. Okay, so in conclusion, my 4 tips include, first, that your space matters and how you decorate and create it does communicate something to the students. Number 2, advocacy is part of your role as an educational audiologist. Number 3, operant conditioning is a tool you can use as an educational audiologist. Number 4, Having high expectations is a strategy you can use as an educational audiologist. And to conclude, I just want to say that I'm going to plan to continue to observe other audiologists, and I urge my peers to do the same. I am very thankful for this class and the resources it gave me, such as these field experiences. I feel better equipped to be a culturally responsive audiologist one day, and I really have this class to thank for that. Thank you to all of those who have watched my presentation. I appreciate the time you took to watch this, and I hope that you learned something, and I wish the best for you in your future career as an educational audiologist. Here are my references. These are the sources I used for this presentation.